The Saudi-funded golf league continues to be the talk of the town despite the PGA's efforts to just brush it away. However, while this is Greg Norman's dream situation, people haven't stopped criticizing the league either. For instance, the tournament's links to the Saudi government have raised alarm bells, especially with all the human rights abuse that's been in the news. Is the golf series actually sports washing these issues though? Well, let's dive in and discuss. First up, Greg Norman and the PGA lock horns in an endless battle. Ever since the announcement of the LIV Golf Invitational Series, there's been a lot of back and forth between Greg Norman and the PGA Tour. Of course, if you're not familiar, Norman's the CEO of this breakaway league and also has a knack for making controversial statements. As a matter of fact, he's apparently out here to finish the PGA's quote-unquote monopoly on the game. According to him, the tour's had way too much leverage over its players for decades now, and anyone who tries to disrupt gets instantly vaporized by them. Besides, for that very reason, golf's also kind of gotten stale over the years as younger audiences just aren't as engaged with the sport anymore. Now, these are the Aussie's words, but we're not sure if he actually believes everything he says because, well, he's got to be a cheerleader for his new series. With that said, you'd be surprised to know that this isn't the first time Greg Norman's tried to rein in on the PGA's parade. In fact, he got pretty close in the 90s with his World Golf Tour, which featured 8 events with $3 million on offer to the top 30 golfers. However, back then, the PGA was smart enough to formulate its own World Championship events that led to Norman's demise. Oh, and it's not like he wasn't mad back then. So it's kind of wild that he's been biding his time over here for 2 decades to finally get his revenge. And now he's got billions of dollars at his disposal to launch a real challenge. Like, there's so much money involved here that even the PGA's threats to ban participants from the tour aren't stopping them from moving over. Is the Australian wrong to take all this money though? Especially when he knows that it's coming straight from the Saudi Arabian government. Next, Norman brushes away Saudi government criticisms. Of course, in this day and age, you really can't avoid any questions, and journalists aren't afraid to speak up and give you some hard-hitting questions either. So it's not like Greg Norman's been avoiding controversy and dodging interviews. In fact, if anything, he's kind of embraced this new image of himself and has accepted that he's out on the battlefield for the Saudi overlords. After all, he is getting a multi-million-dollar paycheck out of this whole thing. Plus, it's pretty evident from his response too. For instance, when asked about the Crown Prince's involvement in the murder of a journalist and a mass execution, Norman brushed these allegations off by saying that it's human error. According to him, we all make mistakes that we come to regret, but honestly, we should all just accept the situation and move forward. Now, if he'd said that about literally anything else, it would have been acceptable, but just the mere fact that this was his response to actual murders angered everyone and set the tone for his stance going forward. But Saudi sports washing comments don't faze Greg Norman. Golf isn't the only game where the Saudi government flexed its financial muscle. As a matter of fact, there's been this whole overarching story over the past couple of years about how the Crown Prince is buying his way into Western entertainment and sports to present a softer image of his rule and also maybe brush all the controversies under the rug. Also, it's been eye-opening to see how this strategy's been so successful because people like Greg Norman are ready to fight and muddle these issues by deflecting them. Take Norman's recent interview with The Telegraph, for example. It's almost as if the man doesn't even possess a moral compass anymore and is ready to brave through everything that's been thrown at him. According to him, it's a great thing that the Saudi government's interest is so much into creating sports opportunities for people and everyone else around the globe. On top of that, the Australian also went on a tangent about how the recent criticisms have stung him a bit, but apparently he's a big believer in the fact that you can't run through brick walls without getting bloody. So it's kind of like a virtuous mission for him to promote the game of golf on a global basis. Oh, and it gets even funnier. For instance, when the journalist asked him about the fortune that he's making, which is estimated to be around $50 million a year, he reported by asking, "What's the definition of a fortune?" To be fair to him though, even his supervillain response are insanely charismatic, which is probably why he's spearheading this project anyway. So is the Crown Prince actually sports washing? Alright, it's time to discuss the elephant in the room. Is there any actual truth to these allegations and finger pointing that's been going on for the past couple of years? Now, if you ask Greg Norman, he's probably going to say no. If you look at the way things have been going lately, however, it's very hard to not agree with what everyone else has been saying. Like, think for a second. Why would the Saudi Crown Prince get so proactive within the entertainment and sports industry all of a sudden? And why does it somehow happen to line up perfectly with the news of all the human rights abuse that's been going on under his regime? Sounds kind of fishy, no? Well, that's because it is fishy. Not only has the Crown Prince dumped billions into this golf league to attract some top talents like Phil Mickelson, but he's also been doing it in other sports like football, where he now owns Newcastle United. Now, you might think that spending money and outing yourself in public actually brings more attention to these issues, and honestly, you'd kind of be right. Having said that, the long-term gain in terms of changing your global visual image is just too effective. For instance, despite the controversy during the purchase of Newcastle United, every fan of the club that loves its ownership now because, well, they're investing in the team and making it way more competitive. So you've already converted hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people there just by purchasing a football club. And that's the case with LIV Golf Series 2, because if your idol is Phil Mickelson and he's playing in it, then surely it can't be that bad, right? Oh, and it's not limited to sports either, as everything from video games to wrestling has some form of involvement from the Crown Prince under the guise of diversifying the economy. Now in other related news, DP World Tour issues stern warning to LIV players. What started off as a pretty harmless threat from PGA and the DP World Tour about potentially banning players, it has actually kind of turned into a reality. Of course, if you don't know, the LIV Invitational Series has already kicked off earlier in June, with more events planned later in the year. However, after the PGA, it seemed like the European tours had enough of its players jumping ship too, as not only has it actually barred them from playing in upcoming tournaments, but it's also handed them a pretty hefty fine. In a statement released earlier this week, the tour confirmed that any golfer who's joined the LIV tournament is suspended from the Genesis Scottish Open on July 7th and the Barracuda Championship on July 14th. On top of that, each of these players would have to also pay $100,000 in fines. Next, Brooks Koepka becomes the latest big name to join LIV Golf Series. Despite all the threats and bans, it looks like no one's stopping LIV Golf anytime soon, as four-time major winner Brooks Koepka has also joined the Invitational Series. The former world number one has already pulled out of this week's PGA Tour Travels Championship and will instead take part in the second LIV event in Oregon on June 30th. Of course, this move comes after PGA's announcement of an increase in prize money from 2024 to compete with the LIV Series. However, even that's not enough to stop the Saudi League from luring top talent away from the association. Lastly, McIlroy squanders yet another chance at a trophy. It seems like Rory McIlroy just can't catch a break these days, as he continues to put himself in pole position during tournaments only to lose his lead right on the last few holes. And unfortunately for him, the same has happened at the Travelers Championship as well. After the first 18 holes on Friday, the 33-year-old was comfortably in the lead. In fact, he even went on to bag 5 birdies in his front 9 at TPC River Highlands. So everything was smooth sailing for him as he prepared to finally get his hands on another trophy. However, it just wasn't meant to be this time around, as the 12th hole proved to be a nightmare for him. Not only did he hit the bunker, but he also overshot his chip to the green from there, and as a result, he finished the hole on his 8th shot. To make matters worse, McIlroy also showed a double bogey on the 15th hole, which left him 6 shots behind the leader with absolutely no comeback in sight. Poor Rory. And that's a wrap for this video. Do you think Rory McIlroy will win another tournament by the end of this year? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.